Okay, students, in today's session, we will start with a new topic that is inheritance. So, as you know that so far we have discussed we have started with some of the topics related to that object-oriented programming. Like we have completed their classes and objects and the methods also. So here we will start with a new topic that is known as inheritance. Okay, so what we mean by inheritance, you know that inheritance is one of the important features. If we say that a particular language obeys all the features of your object-oriented programming, right? So inheritance is one of the prominent feature of object-oriented programming. So how we can define inheritance in case of Java is that this is a mechanism in which a particular object in which a particular object acquires all the properties and behavior of parent object and behavior of parent object. So how we can define this particular term inheritance? Like we will in the programming terminology, we can say like this: a particular object will acquire all the properties and the behavior of its parent object. Now, first of all, what is this parent? Which particular class will act as a parent class here? Okay, so secondly, you must also define here that it possesses is a relationship. So if we say that in Java, inheritance behaves as a is a relationship, which we also define as parent child behavior. Okay, parent child relationship. So in case of inheritance, in case of Java, it behaves like a is a relationship, and it also works as a parent child in a relationship like a parent child. So what we mean by a parent and a child in case of inheritance, that we have a parent class here. Now let's suppose this is my parent class. Okay. And from this particular class, we are deriving some another class here. Okay, from this particular class, we are deriving the another class. Now, what is how this child class will behave? Like it will be obeying some of the feature of its parent class also, and plus it can also have its own features also. Okay, so that is the way that how we can say that inherit like we say that it is inheriting the property of its parent class. Okay, see, we are using a word here, parent object. Okay, because class is what? Class is just a template. Okay, class will provide you the structure. What we are deriving here, that is a parent-child relationship is there, that we are having a single class here, and we are deriving another class from that particular class. Okay, but when we talk about the functioning part, what function we need to use? Class is a template, but object is something like that uses all the properties of its class. Fine. So this is we can say that whatever the object that we will develop here for this particular child class will assess all the features that is being given by its parent. Okay. So don't get confused between these two terms, that how we can define a term inheritance. That is a mechanism in which we can say that a single object, a particular object, can acquire all the properties of the of its parent object. But when object will be formed? Object will be formed only at that particular time when you are deriving a particular class from a base class. Clear? So this is how we can distinguish between these two terms. Like in case of an inheritance, that a particular object will acquire all the properties and the behavior of a parent object. Secondly, it is an important part of, like we can say that, object-oriented programming. Plus, it also follows the is a relationship here. Okay, so what is that is a relationship that will behave like a parent-child class? Like whenever we are talking about a child class, that means we are talking about a derived class. So it is derived from some existing class. Okay, so that existing class will be known as your parent class, or we can say that it is it may be known as a super class here. Okay, so this is how we can, or we can define it as a base class also. So these are some of the terminology that we can use here. So second, next important thing is that why we require this inheritance. Okay. So why, what is the need of developing such type of a concept, that is inheritance? So inheriting means that when you are deriving something, when you are inheriting some properties of your base class over there. Okay. So here what we are doing here, like it will help you to reuse your code. Okay, so that is code reusability will be there. Code reusability will be there, and for we can also require this concept of inheritance for method overriding. For method overriding. Okay, so we require this concept of inheritance basically for these two purposes. First is the code reusability, so that like we are saying that we are deriving from some particular base class or from super class. So what is the benefit of that? That we can use same functions, okay, same methods that has been defined in your parent class. So we don't need to use it again and again or define them again and again in the other classes. So if we are deriving from that particular existing class, that means that we need to reuse that particular code over. Okay, so we are reusing that particular code, and secondly, it helps us in developing a particular concept that is known as a method overriding. Okay, so what is this method overriding? That it helps us in achieving a runtime polymorphism. So directly, the concept of polymorphism we don't use in the case of Java, but that is with the help of some concepts we are indirectly implementing all these ones. Okay, so for implementing runtime polymorphism, we use the concept of this method overriding, and this can be only used if you are if you are using the concept of that inheritance in your particular program. Okay, because for method overriding, it is necessary that you should use the concept of a parent-child. Fine. So this is the main, we can say that a brief view of inheritance in case of Java, that why we use this concept of inheritance, and what is the main advantage of using this type of inheritance. Clear? So next part is that what is the main syntax in case if we talk about of using inheritance in case of Java. So what basic syntax we require for that? Okay. So there is a keyword that we use in Java which is known as the extends keyword. Okay. So there is a keyword known as in Java which is known as a extends keyword. Okay. So this is the name can be defined as extends. Okay, so this is your keyword that you will use if you want to implement the concept of inheritance in your program. Okay, so always we say that we have a particular superclass, and from that particular superclass we are developing a other class here that is a subclass. Okay, so this is the main thing from which we are using the property of inheritance in a particular program. That we have a base class here, we have some particular given class here, and from that particular given class we are developing another class. Fine. So what will happen that obviously both the classes are acting as a template, but how their functionality is defined with the help of a object. So what will happen, the object of this particular class can use the properties of the that has been acquired by the object of this particular class. Okay, so this is how we can define the superclass and the subclass. Fine. Now the next thing is that Next, like we were discussing the syntax. So let's consider this scenario. So we can write like this: class, subclass name, class, subclass name extends superclass. Superclass name. Okay, so here we have to define both the names of our superclasses and the subclasses. So how we can write? We can first use this keyword, that is class. Then we have subclass name like this and extends the superclass. So we have to mention the derived class name first, and then we need to define that which particular class it is extending. So why we use this word extends, that basically define you that we are extending the functionality of the given class. Because in case of inheritance, when we are talking about, it doesn't mean that we have to use all those functions and we can use only that prominent function that is defined in the superclass. This is up to you, that whatever the class that we are deriving, it may use all of the function or some of the function. Plus, it can also add some of the feature for its own purpose also. So it's not mandatory that if you're extending some particular class, you cannot add on your particular features for that particular class. Okay, so we can define like this: class, subclass name, extend, superclass name. And obviously here we will be having that block of code, and where we can define that different methods and the fields. Okay, so these are some of the methods and the fields that we can define. Okay. So extends, basically it increases the functionality of that particular class. So how extends is being used, that it will increase the functionality of that particular class. It will increase the functionality of the particular class. Okay. Now, the next thing is that what are the different types of inheritance that we use in case of Java? Okay, so next part is that I hope you are clear with the syntax part. So earlier we have discussed a brief view of inheritance, and now we are discussing. Now we have discussed the syntax part, and the next part is that how we can. What are the main types of inheritance in case of Java? So that is types of inheritance in Java. So earlier also in your previous languages you have discussed some of the types of inheritance, but in Java we basically have three major types. One is the single inheritance is there. So what is that single inheritance? In which you are having a particular base class and you are deriving some another class from it. Okay, so that is a single inheritance. When you are having a single parent class and a single, that is a child class. Next part is your multi-level inheritance. So multi-level inheritance. Okay, so what multi-level say? Levels means you are having different levels, level A, level B, level C. So all these levels are being the child class of the previous parent classes. So multi-level will work as like B you are having, from B you are developing C, from C you are developing E. Okay, so this is how you can define a multi-level inheritance. Okay, next we have hierarchical inheritance here. So what is that hierarchical inheritance? So we are also having the word inheritance, in which we are having one particular base class and we are developing two other classes from it. Okay, so we are we are having a single base class here, and from that particular base class we are developing other two classes like C and E. Okay, so that is B, C, and E. So that is the main funda of this hierarchical inheritance, that you are having a single base class here, and you can develop more than one class from the single base. So I mentioned two, it could be three also. Okay, as many as you require according to your that particular program. So this is how you can use this hierarchical. Now, there you have already heard about two other inheritance types of inheritance in the other classes. One is your hybrid inheritance. One is your hybrid inheritance, and another one is your multiple inheritance. Another one is your multiple inheritance. Okay. So you are having that multiple inheritance also, and your hybrid inheritance. So directly both these inheritance, like we can say that both these type of inheritance are not being implemented in case of a Java. So directly we cannot implement both these types of inheritance, that is hybrid and your multiple. But there is a new concept in this case which is known as interfaces. Okay, so we have the concept of interfaces with the help of which we can implement both these inheritances. Okay, so with the help of which we can implement both these inheritances. Fine. So this is the main types of inheritance that we are having, and this will tell us that how we can use this part. So one by one, we will be discussing this portion over here, or we can say that this multiple inheritance can also be implemented. Like it will that we can also implement the concept of method overriding in it. So that we will discuss one by one. So this was all about the brief view of the inheritance in case of Java. So now we will start implementing the program related to this particular part. Okay. So related to this particular part, we will start implementing the program. Okay. Okay, students. So now I am discussing with you the first concept that is a single inheritance in this particular session. So we can start like this, like we are having class E, and let's suppose this is my class E, and I am giving a salary over here, float salary equal to, so some value I have given for that salary part, and here now let's suppose there is another class. Now this is my base class here, so I am writing like this, class E, and now let's suppose I need to extend this particular class. I need to derive a particular class from this particular existing class. So what is the syntax for that? That I can write like this. That is class P extends extend. So what is the, this is P is my, that is a derived class, and it will extend the E. Okay, and it will extend the base class here, like that is E. Now we are having int bonus equal to, now let's suppose I can give any value here like 2000, and here I will be writing like this, public static void main and
I will pass all those arguments, string arguments. Okay. Now, what I will do, I will create the object of the base class here. Okay. So what is my base class here? That is P. And let's suppose I take a small P1 here. That is the object. And here I am using new P like this. So I have allocated that memory to this particular object, that is P1. Now I just print out all these salary part. You can see here that with the help of this particular object, I can access both the like fields that I have defined in my base class also and in my derived class also. Okay, so I can write like this: system dot out dot println. Okay, so we can write like this: P salary is, so we can have, that is, what is my object name? P1 dot, and what, how we have defined that particular field with the word salary. So we are using like this SAL. Okay, again system dot out dot println, and again I can write like this: bonus is like, here we can use P1 dot, that is the bonus part. Okay, P1 dot bonus part. Fine. Now I will save this part. So with this control, so I am saving it with the name, that is P. So P dot Java. Okay, now I move to my command prompt. Here you can see I can have javac, this P dot Java. Okay, now I will run this part. See, you can see the salary here, salary and the bonus part. Fine. So this is how we have simply implemented the concept of single inheritance in case of a Java, because we have only single base class and single derived class here. Fine. Now the next part that we need to we will just discuss here is the multi-level inheritance. So let's start. We can again have a new. Okay. So again, we will discuss the multi-level. So what was multi-level? That we have a different levels of the inherited part, or the different levels of, we can say that how we can extend a particular class, like level A, level B, level C. So each and every particular class will be derived from some previous parent class it has. Okay, so we can write like this. Let's suppose class A. So I'm using a simple concept to define all this thing. So we can write like use function here. Like let's suppose we can define class birds. Okay, so here we can use void eat. Okay, and here simply this is the method that we have defined here, and we can write like this: system dot out dot println Okay, and here we can simply write this line, that is 18. Fine. So this is the first class that we have used here. Now, from this particular class, I will derive the another class. So here we can write like this: class parrot extends birds. Okay, this is class parrot and it will extend this particular bird. So again, we can write, use another method here. So we can write like void. So I can just like sing like this type of a method I can use here. And here again, I will define it like system dot out dot println. Okay, so here also we can simply print a message that is singing. Okay, so we have just defined this part also for this method, that is sing. Now again, now this if we simply write the program till here only, so it is just working as a single inheritance. Okay, but now we are using the concept of multiple inheritance. So again, we need to use that class. Now let's suppose I am writing like crow extends. Now which class it will extend now? This class. Okay, so it will extend this particular class here, that is the parrot class, not the bird class, because this is the multi-level inheritance that we are using here. Okay, so we are writing like this: crow extends parrot, and again we will be using one method here. So we need to close all these classes also. Okay, so we have a class crow extends, and here again we can use another method here, void drinking. No, let's suppose I have used this part drinking, and here again I am using system dot out dot println, and we can write like this: okay, so this is how we have defined all these classes here. So again I will close this class. Okay, now here I use a class here, that is a class, and which now let's suppose I am implementing multi-level, so I just write this name multi. So this is the class name that I have given, and here I will be using public static void main, and we are having string. So here you can see that now which particular class we will develop the object for, that is the recent class that we will be having. So in our case, what is the recent class that we are working with? That is a crow class. So we are having that crow C equal to new crow. Okay. So here you can see that now with the help of this particular object, that is C object, what I will do, I will assess all the methods of my own class also and from my parent class also. Okay, so you can see like this. I will be writing C dot, the first method that I can define, that is drink. Okay, then we have C dot, another method is sing. And the first method was your, that is eat. So I have written C dot eat. Okay, so this is how we can define this part. Okay, so this is how we can define this particular main class here. So we have used this particular part. Okay, so I will again check for the brackets part. So okay, every bracket I have closed all the classes and the methods. So let's see if it compiles properly. So again I will save it with the name multi. So that is multi dot Java. Now I go to the command prompt, and here that is multi. So I will be writing here is multi dot Java. So our program has compiled efficiently. Now we will run this part. So we are writing Java multi C. Okay, so you can see here that all these methods that we have already defined in the parent classes. So how many parent classes we are having? So this is our first parent class from which we have derived the parent class, and from this parent class we have derived a pro class here. Okay, so this is the multi-level. You can see that these are the multi-levels here, and each class is having its own the like fields and methods are there. So in this case we have used only methods part. So what we have done, that with the help of the recent class that we are using, that is the last class that we are having, that is the pro class, we have developed the object, or we can say that our latest child class that we are having. So with the help of that particular object we have used all those methods. Fine. So this was all about the multi level inheritance. Now the next part is the next thing that we will discuss here, that is a hierarchical inheritance. So we are having a concept of hierarchical inheritance. So that is the inheritance. So how we can define hierarchical inheritance? That we will be having a single base class here, and from that particular base class we can develop more than one derived classes. Okay, so how we can use like this? Like let's suppose again we are having class birds. Now let's suppose I am using again the same class name, that is class birds, and here I can write void eat. Okay, so under this voided, that is system dot out dot println, and here eating okay. Now another class is there, class. So again I will close the class also. So here again we are having class. Now let's suppose we are having a parrot class, and that parrot class will extends the bird class. Okay, so again we are having that is void sing, and we will be having system okay. So we can simply print here like singing, and I will close this part, obviously the class also. Now again, what another class we are having, that is class crow. Now this crow class will again extends your base class, that is your birds class. So we are having void we are having void bring, we are writing like system dot out dot println. Okay, so here again you can see we are simply printing a message here, that is drinking. So this is the main like syntax wise you can see the difference, that and in the case of a multi-level we have to derive from the other derived class, but in the case of a hierarchical part we have a single base class only, like you can see both their names are same and we are deriving two other classes from that. Okay, so again I will use another class here, so I just write like this HIER. Okay, that is HIER. Okay, so here again I will be using public static void string arguments that we need to pass. Okay, and here after that we will just create the object for the like which is the recent class that we are having derived class, that is crow. So we are writing crow, and let's suppose we are having C equal to new, so crow we are having it. Okay, so this is how we have allocated that memory to this particular object. Now here we can use C dot. Now what is the object name that we are having here? What are the different methods that we will be using? So one is the, that is C dot drink we will be having, that is C dot drink. Okay, and again we can have drink is there, then we have C dot sing. Okay, and then we have C dot eat. Okay, so let's see what output we can get. Okay, so let's see what output we will be having here. So I will be writing HIER dot Java. Okay, HIER, that is the name of my class program here, class here, which I'm using that main method. So now let's run this part. So I will be going. So there is some error. So it is not handling that particular sing method here. Let's see without using of this particular part. So we have used that. Okay. Now we need to see that if we write this particular, we don't have any compile time error when we don't use this particular class over here. Okay, so that class is basically, yes. Now you can tell me this part that we are developing the object for this particular crow class, right? So this crow class is having two methods of its own. Like one is the drink method is there, and it is extending your birds class. So birds will be having, bird class is having one method, that is the eat method. Now if we try to assess this sing method, this particular object cannot assess this particular sing method here. Why so? Because this method belongs to this particular class, and which is inheriting this particular base class. So there is no connection between the crow class and the parrot class. Fine. So there is no connection between the crow class and the parrot class. So both these classes are working individually. So that's why this particular C object cannot assess this particular sing method here. Clear? So this is the main thing that I need to tell you, that in the case of a multi-level, what was happening, that we were deriving from a base class, again from the derived class, we were deriving the another class. So all three classes were interconnected with each other. Okay, because somehow they are related with each other. They were acting as a, we can say that super parent class. It was acting like we have having A class was there, B class was there, and the C class was there. Okay, so but in this case of a hierarchical inheritance, it is not possible, because individually that base class is being inherited by more than one classes. So whatever the classes that we are having here, so that should be handled only that methods that it is assessing to, and that particular method that it is defining in its own class only. Okay. So this was regarding the hierarchical inheritance also, and we have implemented both the part. Now see, we will run this portion. So I am writing like this. See, drinking and eating, because drinking is the part of this particular crow class, and it is extending a single class, that is birds class. So birds is also having another method here, that is the eat part. Clear? So this was all about the type of inheritance. Okay, so method overriding is such type of a thing that in which a subclass will provide the specific implementation of the method that has been declared by one of its parent class. Okay, so here you can see that we are having class A, class B is there, and both these classes are having the same message, same method here. And here we are using this class C extend A and B. So problem is that C will not able to understand, this particular object will not able to understand that which method should be invoked here. Okay, so we use the concept of method overriding. So method overriding is basically used to provide specific implementation of a method which is already provided by its superclass. So method overriding also help us to implement the concept of runtime polymorphism. Okay, so what will happen, like we can start with the program here. Like we can say that if we need to implement that method overriding in case of Java, so we must have same method name in the parent class. Okay, the method must have the same name as in parent class, and the method must have the same parameter as in the parent class. And it should follow, for method overriding, it is necessary that you should have the concept of inheritance among yourself. Okay, now let's start with this part. Now I need to implement the concept of method overriding. So I'm writing like this: class V, and here we can write void run. Okay, void run is there, and here we will be using, that is, system dot out dot println. Okay, so here we can simply say that vehicle is running. Okay, so I will close this part here. So both the method and the class. Now I will create another class here, that is, let's suppose I am taking bike extends. Now what is my base class? That is V. Okay, so here what I have to do in order to implement method overriding, I have to use same name of that particular method. So what method name I will be having? That is void run. Okay, so here we are having system dot out dot println. Okay, so we can say that bike is running. Okay, so here we have closed this particular method here. Now I will define that public static void main here. So here we will be using public static void main okay, so that is public static void main we are having here. And here you can see that I will create the object of this particular derived class. So what is the name of my derived class? That is bike obj, and this is the object. So I'm writing new bike. Okay, so here we are having obj dot run. Okay, now just think upon that what output should be displayed here. Okay, so first of all I will save this program. I'm writing bike dot java, and let's see what output will be. Bike dot okay, okay, so we can have java bike. See, so it will show you the message that is bike is running. Okay, so this concept, it will just ignore that message that you have defined under this particular method. So both the base class and the derived class are having the same method name. So this is a first of all we will check that it is implementing the concept of method overriding. Yes, because how we can say that? Because both the base class and your derived class are having the same method name here and same parameters also. So in this particular case, we are not having any parameter. So it's fine. We have created the null parameters here. Okay. But what will happen when we will create the object for this particular class, that is the child class. So it will just override your it will just override your parent class here. So what message it will show you, that is bike is running. Right. So this is how we can just see the concept of uh, so it is just a simple concept of method overriding. Method overriding means, what do we mean by overriding? That you are overriding something. Okay, so that you are just we can say that like we say that we are overriding some memory space. Okay, so we are overwriting something. So here what is happening, that we have used a same method name. There could be also a situation in case of Java, that when we are using multiple classes here, so there could be a scenario for that multiple classes, like we need to use some same method names also. So we are having same method name here for the derived class and for the base class. So what will happen when you will define the object for that particular derived class, it will just override the method that you have defined in your base class here. Okay, so it will not print this particular method, that is vehicle is running. It will just print this particular part, that is bike is running. Okay, so this particular concept is known as a method overriding, and this will help us for the runtime polymorphism, that at runtime it will see that which particular method it should invoke at that time. So that's why it implements the concept of a runtime polymorphism also. Fine. So this was all about today's session, that we have implemented this concept of method overriding, and we have implemented the different inheritance part also. Okay.